Good evening. Welcome to Inside City Hall for Thursday, November 6, 2025. I'm Errol Lewis. All eyes today were on Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani, who traveled to Puerto Rico for the annual political conference Somos el Futuro. We are the future. This conference is also the official kickoff of the city council speaker's race and statewide contests, including Governor Kathy Hochul's re-election bid. Our State House reporter Bernadette Hogan has been keeping up with all of the doings down there in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and she joins us now with tonight's top story. Good evening, Bernadette.
Good evening, Errol. Mamdani touched down around midday in San Juan, Puerto Rico. He was quickly ushered to another hotel. He's actually not staying at the main hotel where the conference is happening, understandably so, obviously, because everybody wants some FaceTime with him. But he did speak to reporters, first off, talking about his win, and then also discussing a recent invite, I suppose, from President Donald Trump, who said that he was looking forward to talking to Mamdani. Here's what Mamdani had to say.
Two most straightforward ways to raise the revenue to fund our affordability agenda is by raising the personal income tax on New Yorkers who make $1 million or more by 2%, and raising the state's top corporate tax to match that of New Jersey. And also, the most important thing is to fund the agenda.
And Mamdani was also asked about raising taxes to pay for all of his policy proposals, the most popular ones being a fast and free bus route and universal child care, that he also has found an ally in, Governor Kathy Hochul. So the big question, Errol, will be whether or not this puts the governor in a bind come January 1st with these promises, and just how expensive a universal child care program would be, not just in New York City, but also statewide, because that is currently what's on the table. Now, also, Mamdani did appear alongside Attorney General Letitia James, someone that has been a staunch ally ever since he won the June primary. She is also a formidable opponent against President Donald Trump. So that appearance has been a constant throughout the campaign. Mamdani also spoke in front of a crowd of union leaders and other power brokers, other elected officials, alongside Governor Kathy Hochul. It was a DC 37 event. Very interesting that Mamdani decides to spend his first public night with one of the most powerful unions in New York City, gracing that event. Also, perhaps maybe tipping his hand at some relationship building that will be done not just down here in Puerto Rico, but then also over the next couple of weeks. I also was able to catch up with several different candidates for city council speaker who, as of now, have told me that although they might have talked to Zohran Mamdani, he has not yet weighed in, and he actually said that as well. The council the council speaker candidates, rather, are Julie Menon, Crystal Hudson, Christopher Marte, and Amanda Farias. Errol?
Okay, a whole lot going on down there. And to add to it, I guess, a little bit, Bernadette, we are hearing from sources that Congresswoman Elise Stefanik from upstate New York is expected to launch her bid for governor against Kathy Hochul as soon as tomorrow. Do you have any more details on that?
Right, well, I heard from sources that that announcement is expected to happen Friday through a video announcement, which is an interesting way to do it. Already we've heard that Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman is considering running for governor, I've been told by those close to him. So it's interesting with the timing, especially also with the victory of Zohran Mamdani in New York City and then other Republican losses in New Jersey and then a Virginia race. But, you know, Governor Kathy Hochul and Elise Stefanik have had pretty fierce words, sharp words for one another over the last couple of months, especially as Stefanik has been teasing that she's going to run against Hochul. She constantly calls the governor the, quote, worst governor in America. But Governor Kathy Hochul continues to point towards her wins over the past couple of years while she's been in office. Her numbers are certainly better than they were back in 2022, but we've got a long way to go before 2026, and we'll probably hear more from Stefanik tomorrow.
And Bernadette, I know the transition chairs are here in New York and they're just starting to organize their work, but I imagine there are a lot of people down there who are maybe hoping to get a role in the incoming administration of Zohran Mamdani.
A lot of people want a job, Errol. A lot of people in the Adams administration as well. People that are former Adams officials and current ones. I asked Chancellor Melissa Aviles Ramos, if she was going to be asked to stay on as city schools chancellor. She actually ran away from me. So we don't know if she's been asked. But actually, I did ask Mamdani, and he said he hasn't had that conversation yet. Another question will be whether or not he keeps the police commissioner, Jessica Tisch. He had said he has not had a personal conversation with her yet, so that's a big to be determined. But then also, you know, you have a bunch of city council members that are term limited who we're very happy to greet Mamdani earlier tonight and listen to him speak here in San Juan.
Okay, thanks very much, Bernadette. National Republicans are already trying to weaponize Mamdani's victory, accusing the Democratic Party of caving to extremists and even linking Mamdani to the ongoing government shutdown. Our Bobby Kuza joins me now with the latest on that. Good evening, Bobby.
Good evening, Errol. And we have spent a lot of time these last few months talking about Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer and their reluctance to embrace Zohran Mamdani. I mean, Schumer never even endorsed Zohran Mamdani. And this is exactly why, because of what we saw today. We saw Mike Johnson, the Republican House Speaker. He came out, he had a press conference, and almost immediately he starts talking about Mamdani's victory and how this shows a communist wave is taking over the party. And he says these two, Jeffries and Schumer, had to bend the knee to the socialists. He even brought up Schumer's faith. He said he is the highest-ranking Jewish elected official in the country, and yet even he could somehow not bring himself to denounce Mamdani, who he called an anti-Semite. So you see how this is playing out. I mean, they are going to use Mamdani to try to bludgeon Democrats across the country, and these two leaders in particular. Here's some of what we heard today.
The future of the Democrats was set in New York City. A 34-year-old Marxist is now the leader of the Democratic Party, and it is a very dangerous road for them to go down.
It's incumbent upon all of us, everybody in New York City, to make sure that the mayor-elect is successful. People who supported him and people who did not.
And Johnson also brought up the shutdown, and he said that the reason why Democrats are prolonging the shutdown is because they're afraid of this left extremist wing of the party. They fear political retribution from far-left activists. And so that is his argument. Mamdani was asked about it during that same availability with reporters that you saw Bernadette talking about. Here's Mamdani's response.
Look, if I were Speaker Johnson, I would also not focus on the disastrous results of what the Republican administration has delivered for Americans across this country. In New York City, we're speaking about close to 2 million New Yorkers who are being denied SNAP benefits. And I'm thankful to be standing here alongside Attorney General James, who's been on the front lines of fighting for the SNAP benefits to be returned. And it is time for us to show that politics can be more than the cruelty and the punishment we so often see coming out of Washington, D.C.
And President Trump again weighed in today on Mamdani. He was asked about it by reporters. He actually had a little bit of a softer tone today, President Trump. He said, if Mamdani is a communist, then, you know, maybe they don't need all this money for bridges and streets and tunnels. Obviously, he has been threatening to withhold infrastructure funding. But he also said, I hope New York does well. I'm from New York, and softened the tone a little bit. I mean, for whatever that's worth, he just wasn't quite as threatening as he typically is in his comments.
The idea of tying the shutdown to Mamdani, the shutdown I guess, was 35 days old or something before he even got elected.
Right. I mean, obviously, Mamdani has been a factor for months, right? And there has been this question for Jeffries and Schumer. You know, what impact Mamdani will have nationally, and whether associating themselves with Mamdani will hurt national Democrats in the midterms next year who are in more moderate districts. So we're seeing this play out in real time, but now that he's actually been elected, we're seeing Republicans weaponize this to an extent that they hadn't before.
Okay, yeah, we'll see if it'll work. Thanks very much, Bobby. We're going to take a short break now. We've got a packed show for you tonight. Coming up, the outgoing mayor, Eric Adams, might be leaving City Hall in less than 60 days, but he could cement policies that could complicate the incoming Mamdani administration's agenda. We'll explain that next. Later tonight, I'll be joined in studio by Mamdani's campaign manager to talk about how the mayor-elect pulled off his historic victory. Later on, you'll hear from Shirley Aldebal, who defeated and flipped a Bronx City Council seat from Republican to Democratic. Stay with us.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day. With in-depth coverage of the day's developing news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following this morning.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Some morning sunshine possible, clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One. Weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum customers.
Spectrum TV, isn't that only live TV?
No, it's only all my favorite streaming apps with live TV.
Okay.
It's only all included at no extra cost. And that's the magic of math. Will this be on the test? Sure. Why not?
It's only one simple payment for all our TV. We gotta simplify and win. Winning is equally important.
If not, more so.
Yeah!
Only Spectrum TV, fixed TV.
I'm Sandra, this is Jorge, and we were adopted in 2019. I remember when they first came to us, Michael was already a teenager. The whole cliche of they're so lucky to have you guys, and it's the other way around. They have changed our family for the better. They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
And that's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning.
We've done with the sports section.
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s, but showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
Exclusively on Spectrum.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. In some ways, departing Mayor Eric Adams may be yesterday's news, but he still has the power to affect the future of our city. In his final weeks in office, the mayor could set in motion policies on public safety and housing that would test the incoming Mamdani administration. Our Kelly Mena joins us now with more on that. Good evening, Kelly.
Good evening, Errol. And as you mentioned earlier, the mayor has about 55 days left in office. Just enough time to make some last-minute changes to city government. Changes that will affect the incoming administration. Mayor Adams' days are numbered, but that doesn't mean he can't still make an impact. In his waning time in office, Adams can make lasting decisions, like adding 5,000 cops to the police department.
And the way it was announced appropriately was that it would phase in over 5 years, and he would add police and add money over 5 years. But the reality as proposed is it starts in next fiscal year in July of 2026.
Andrew Ryan, the head of Citizens Budget Commission, said the plan doesn't start until next year, leaving it up to Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani to decide its fate, to cut or to save.
He has to propose a balanced budget, and then it will be his to modify and make all the changes he needs to close the budget gap, to deal with federal cuts, and to fund his priorities.
Mamdani has already said he's going to keep the police at its current level of 35,000 cops, but he also wants to start a new community safety unit. Adams is also considering making big changes to the Rent Guidelines Board, a panel of appointees that controls the rents on stabilized apartments.
We're going to make sure there are people that are on the board that's going to follow the law, not follow politics. The law is you do an assessment to determine if rents should increase or remain without an increase, and that's what we're going to do.
Currently, there are 6 members of the 9-member board serving unexpired terms. If Adams replaces them, they would pose a significant threat to Mamdani's promise to freeze rents.
The mayor is seemingly unsatisfied with a record of raising rents by more than 12% on more than 2 million New Yorkers. I continue to believe in the importance of delivering relief for the 8.5 million people who love this city, who live in this city, but cannot afford to continue to be here.
And then there's the surprises the 110th mayor could leave behind.
Well, the first thing is what you will not see, how the administration goes about hiding some of their loyalists.
George Arts served as the press secretary for Mayor Ed Koch. He said it's not just about preserving policies, but people in these final days.
You want to make sure that they'll be okay. You might talk to the new mayor about certain people who might need a position and who have been very good.
And Mayor Adams has said this week that he plans to meet with the incoming mayor before the full transition happens. We'll see how that goes, Errol.
Has a lot of this been sort of speculation about what the mayor could do as opposed to any clues that he's given about what he might want to do?
Well, definitely increasing the police department by 5,000 is something that he definitely wants to do. We have the November modification coming up in a couple of weeks where we'll see that in writing for sure. That's something that will happen concretely. How it ends up developing, we'll see with the new administration. But when it comes to the Rent Guidelines Board, that's something that he's mulling over, you know. He could make some changes. He could change all 6 of those seats that are left open. He could just choose 2. He said he's thinking about it. He actually has put his first deputy mayor, Randy Mastro, in charge of that, looking at applications. He said he's thinking about it, but we'll see how that goes. That would be a big, big threat to Mamdani's, one of his top campaign promises, which is freezing rents for those rent-stabilized apartments here in the city.
And as far as we know, are there any city council bills that are coming up where there might be one last mayoral veto and override or that kind of a fight before the end of the year?
No, I don't believe so. I think that might be over the battle between the two Adams, I think might be at its finality. But I think that the mayor definitely has a couple more things up his sleeve that he wants to do, and especially this program that he's been touting for a couple months, whether it come to fruition about language access here in the city.
Okay, thanks very much, Kelly. With this year's election not even a week behind us, there's a Democratic primary battle up in the Bronx that's shaping up for Congressman Richie Torres' seat. Torres has been one of the most prominent voices for the United States' support of Israel against anti-Semitism at home. But now it's the focus of a challenge by Michael Blake, a former state assemblyman who alleges that Torres is disinterested in his Bronx district. Our Dan Rivley joins us now with the details on that. Good evening, Dan.
Good evening, Errol. So I interviewed Michael Blake, and in that he pointed out that Zohran Mamdani won the congressional district, and that victory from Mamdani really provided insurgent Democrats a playbook, and the one Michael Blake plans to use is to accuse his opponent Torres of being too beholden to lobbying groups like AIPAC and too supportive of the government of Israel, while Blake makes an economic argument that that should be a greater focus in the district.
Secretly investing in genocide.
All these things I'm saying about Richie Torres.
Since Bronx Congressman Richie Torres' pro-Israel politics is the foundation for a primary challenge from Michael Blake, a former state lawmaker running in opposition to U.S. support for Israel.
Richie Torres cares more about Bibi than he cares about the Bronx.
The continued and current connection that Richie Torres has with AIPAC in its current form, that he is not able to focus on the people of the Bronx in the way that he should.
That would make this a campaign between Torres, a progressive Democrat who backs Israel, and Blake, a progressive Democrat who used to back Israel.
I have a responsibility to support America's friend and ally, Israel.
That's Blake in 2017, then a state assemblyman, speaking to AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, the U.S.-based lobbying group. Blake's Instagram account is full of pictures from his 2014 AIPAC-sponsored trip to Israel, even posting, at the time, this photo in praise of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Blake says he hasn't changed. He still supports the state of Israel, but it's AIPAC and Israel's government that has changed.
The AIPAC of today is not the AIPAC of yesterday, and it is time for us to make a change, and that is one of the reasons why I'm running.
The majority Hispanic district covers the largely Jewish neighborhood of Riverdale, Baychester to the east, down to Morrisania in the South Bronx. Blake in 2020 ran and lost a race for that seat and has run for multiple offices since then, most recently for mayor. A spokesman for Torres sent New York One a statement. Michael Blake is not interested in the Bronx. He's only interested in using it to run for office for the 5th time, and the result will be the same as before, another loss. There's a reason Bronx voters trust Richie Torres. He's been their champion in Congress, laser focused on issues like public housing and affordability while standing up to Donald Trump. That's why he's going to win next year. As for local Bronx issues, Torres' spokesman credited the congressman for federal aid to the city's public hospital system and to a study on capping the Cross Bronx Expressway to build parks there. Blake says he has an economic message beyond his criticism of Torres and Israel's government.
It literally lists out ending of credit scores for housing applications. It literally states a focus around education. It clearly states how to help people have more jobs and opportunities.
And Torres also has the funds to fight back this primary challenge, $14 million in his campaign war chest, Earl.
That's got to be one of the biggest war chests in the entire United States Congress. That's a lot of money to spend in one district.
That's incredibly a lot. I think typically in the single-digit million range is quite a lot for a congressional race, even in very expensive New York City. To have $14 million, that definitely puts him at a top and perhaps top earners of campaign funds in the nation.
And we keep saying next year, but the reality is I think we're, 8 months away from the Democratic primary, which is really where this will be settled. Michael Blake doesn't really have a lot of time.
No, he doesn't. You have to raise the money and then get your message out. And I think that is the nature of the earlier primary. I think we're still in these early cycles of getting used to a campaign season that now can typically end in the summer because of that early Democratic primary. It used to be after the summer. And so we'll have to see how that affects fundraising. But as you can see, Michael Blake at least has his campaign themes lined out in that launch video.
Okay, thanks very much, Dan. We are going to take a short break now. When we come back, after nearly 40 years on the job, Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi of California says she will not be running for another term. We'll bring you a report from Washington, D.C. next to explain why. Stay with us.
At Spectrum News, we're committed to strengthening the fabric of local communities through our reporting, with stories that inspire and news that matters on your smart TV and connected devices, streaming live 24/7, plus on-demand weather forecast to help you stay prepared. It's all there as you step outside with the Spectrum News mobile app, keeping you informed and in the know throughout your day. Spectrum News, free with your Spectrum subscription, exclusively for Spectrum customers, now available on your favorite devices.
It's only a game. It's only a little rivalry. It's only a ritual. When I come home and a few generations. You're always there. And only Spectrum TV includes all your favorite streaming apps with live TV at no extra cost. It's only a game. It's only everything.
Mom was always organized, but she started forgetting to pay her bills on time.
And she'd buy the same gifts over and over.
Telling the girls about my Alzheimer's diagnosis was really hard.
At first, we had our cries, but then we were like, okay, let's make a plan.
Early detection gave us time to adapt together.
It's so important for you to think about what you can do and making the most of what you have.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
From my time growing up in Queens watching New York 1 to my time reporting here, I've seen how quickly a story can change. At News All Day, we bring you the news as it's happening, from around the boroughs to local government to your neighborhood. Because our city never stops moving.
3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Shannon Ferry with the day's developing stories. But first,
stay up to date and informed with News All Day, weekdays from noon to 4.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. Today, Representative Nancy Pelosi of California announced that she will not be seeking re-election next year, ending a trailblazing career that saw her become the first female Speaker of the House of Representatives and one of the most powerful women in American politics. Spectrum News political reporter Charlotte Scott joins me now from our Washington, D.C. bureau with more on Pelosi's announcement. Good evening, Charlotte.
Good evening, Errol. Tonight, we take a look back at some of her biggest moments on Capitol Hill and how she announced she wasn't running for re-election.
For decades, I've cherished the privilege of representing our magnificent city
in the United States Congress.
In an emotional video to her San Francisco constituents Thursday, Representative Nancy Pelosi announced that she will not run for re-election next year.
Here's the thing.
The 85-year-old will have served for 39 years when her current term ends in early 2027.
And I never tire. That's a luxury. Resting is rusting. That's one of my mottos.
Pelosi played a monumental role in passing landmark legislation, from the Affordable Care Act to climate measures and infrastructure spending. She's also been a prolific fundraiser for Democratic candidates.
You are a member of the House of Representatives.
Pelosi entered Congress in 1987 and went on to lead House Democrats for 20 years, 8 of them as the first and only female House Speaker. Although a towering figure on Capitol Hill, Pelosi also has been a polarizing figure, often demonized by conservatives. In 2020, she famously tore up President Donald Trump's State of the Union address, underscoring her fraught relationship with him. Pelosi told Spectrum News last year that she avoids using Trump's name.
It's like a curse word to me.
On Thursday, President Trump called her decision to retire a great thing for America. Pelosi also has been a champion for women in Congress, helping many get elected and given them leadership roles on key committees.
There are decisions that are made to make sure that the beautiful diversity of our country is represented, but especially when it came to women because of the disparity that had been there so long.
After President Joe Biden's disastrous debate against Trump last year, she pushed Biden to end his re-election, straining their decades-long friendship. Pelosi stepped down from her leadership post 2 years ago amid a push for generational change atop her party. That paved the way for Representative Hakeem Jeffries of Brooklyn to lead House Democrats.
Her tenure has been iconic, legendary, historic, and transformational.
So, Charlotte, we just saw Hakeem Jeffries there. What does all of this mean for New York Democratic Senator Chuck Schumer, who was Pelosi's partner for so many years?
Yeah, Errol, as the Senate's top Democrat, Schumer's future might be called into question with Pelosi's announcement. At 74, he is 11 years younger than Pelosi, and he still has some time to make his decision since he's not up for re-election until 2028. But it'll be interesting to see how Schumer seizes on this moment or not, Errol.
Thanks very much, Charlotte. We are going to take a short break now, and when we come back, we'll turn back to Zohran Mamdani's historic campaign, which will be remembered and even replicated for years to come. I'm going to talk it over with Mamdani's campaign manager. Maya Handa is coming up next. Stay with us.
In Focus with Cheryl Wills. A weekly show discussing decisions and potential solutions for issues making an impact in your community and your city. If it's important to New Yorkers, then it's being talked about here. In Focus with Cheryl Wills. Sunday mornings at 10:30 on New York One.
It's only a slice. It's only made possible by Spectrum, connecting businesses of all sizes, like small businesses, instantly serving up orders and inventory on the Spectrum Fiber broadband network. And factories, seamlessly connecting to farmers in the field with tailored solutions that always deliver. It's only a slice. It's only everything. Get your business free fiber-powered internet forever. Call to find out how.
I'm Chris Jakimick. I served in the United States Air Force, and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is, my job is people, everyone is my business. But unfortunately in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jakimick, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. My service never stops.
At Spectrum Noticias, we recognize that our New York City community is vibrant and diverse.
Spectrum Noticias delivers balanced coverage of the stories that matter in our communities and across the country.
Our journalists are based in the neighborhoods we cover, ensuring you get in-depth reporting on what's happening in the places we call home.
So join us at Spectrum Noticias. We're always on, always there for you.
Now available on your TV. Check your local listings. Also available on the Spectrum News app.
Inspired by Zohran as a candidate, but I also want to speak to his strength as a person. He has led our team and this movement with grace, curiosity, good humor, and thoughtfulness. And this race has been difficult. He has been the subject of attacks and threats, but he has truly risen above it all to give us hope.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall, where we are still breaking down Zohran Mamdani's historic win and trying to understand it. That was Mamdani's campaign manager and my next guest, Maya Honda. She joined his campaign back in July, and she's just one of the few people in Mamdani's inner circle who played a key role in steering his campaign to victory. She joins me now to reflect on the historic campaign and tell us a little bit about how it happened. Welcome to the program. Good to see you.
It's really great to be here, and I'm so excited about this win. You know, how it happened is the story of people. It is the story of 100,000 volunteers who knocked 3 million doors, made close to 4.5 million phone calls, I think. And I think that is, you know, the story of a message that motivates people. In this time of despair, rising fascism, so many people have felt down, you know, not inspired, not hopeful about democracy, and Zohran's message of affordability, but also the way that he spoke about it, not being afraid to call out the villains, not being afraid to call out the billionaires and corporations who have made this city so unaffordable, just really spoke to people and gave them something to fight for. And we saw that when 100,000 people chose to knock doors, talk to their neighbors, and kind of bring people together to achieve historic turnout.
Let's talk a little bit about how you got to the campaign. Now, you were actually involved in the primary, not in the Mamdani campaign, but you were working as the campaign manager for Zelnor Myri. After the primary was over, at what point did you decide to come over to the Mamdani camp?
I think that, you know, the real thing here was that this is about the affordability crisis. And so getting started, obviously, have so much love for Zelnor, and, you know, I think a lot of the policies that he ran on, universal after school, building 1 million homes, are things that obviously are, you know, there to address the affordability crisis. And so seeing that, you know, Zohran had won, and even in spite of his victory, that billionaires and others, and Andrew Cuomo, you know, wouldn't say, oh, he won fair and square, he won by 13 points. This is obviously the Democratic nominee, but we're not going to, you know, sit down and allow democracy to take its course. That kind of motivated me to say, no, the work's not finished.
You have worked on campaigns all over the country. You worked on Elizabeth Warren's presidential campaign, Mondaire Jones' successful congressional campaign upstate, India Walton's mayoral campaign in Buffalo, where she won the Democratic nomination, but ended up losing in a write-in campaign to the 3-term incumbent Byron Brown. How did you get into this business?
It's a great question. You know, it was Donald Trump that motivated me, actually. I was not working in campaigns. I was working in international development, and just saw the way that his administration was defunding the aid that we send to some of the poorest countries in the world, and also folks here at home. And so that motivated me in 2019 to join Senator Warren's campaign. And again, same message, right? The same message is that, you know, our system is rigged, and it's benefiting the wealthy and well-connected. And, you know, it's just been an honor to work for so many people who have had that message and been so inspiring. And I also want to say that, you know, wins and losses, but a lot of losses have led up to this win of Zohran's, where a lot of the power that was built over the years of organizing and motivating folks and building volunteer leadership, that led to what we saw the other night.
It develops a certain amount of expertise among individuals and within organizations, including the DSA. How did the door knocking work? What were volunteers asked to do? And was it a two-way exchange? When they're knocking on a door, are they bringing back information to the campaign?
Absolutely. So the first thing that I want to talk about actually is our volunteer leaders. Our amazing organizing director, Tasha, has been in this movement for a really long time, and has been developing leaders for a really long time. A program of this scale cannot happen through just one person. It cannot happen through just staff. And the reality is that our campaign had hundreds of leaders, all of whom were trained over years and also over months, to basically be able to train others and problem solve and figure out how to make connections, bring data back to us about what messages were resonating and what weren't. And that, to me, is really exciting because it is a sign that this work is not over. When you train these leaders for years to come and they're mobilized and empowered, that power continues and is going to be a really key part of delivering his agenda.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine there are others like you who sort of try it out, decide that they like it, and the next thing, then, you know, they're traveling all over the country.
That's the hope. I mean, traveling all over the country is tough, but you know, we have such need here in New York, and I'm so excited at the unprecedented turnout that we saw, because it is a sign that people are regaining their hope in democracy. Something that Zohran says a lot is democracy is, you know, politics is not something you have, it's something you do. And we really saw that on this campaign. It's not just, you know, people being dragged out to vote and, oh, that's my civic duty, whatever. It's like, no, I feel active. I feel like I'm a part of this. And you know, that's the point.
I read an article where you estimated that progressive candidates can be outspent by as much as 2 to 1 and still be competitive. But when it turns into, you know, 6 to 1, 10 to 1, 12 to 1, the money starts to really play a role. What role did it play in this race?
You know, it created a lot of polarization and division. And it's a few things. One is I do really want to call out the Islamophobia that we saw, because it was ugly and it was unprecedented. And I think it was a direct result of you know, the possibility of the first Muslim mayor that this city has ever seen, the ugliness of an ad that said global jihad over his face, like the things that people said about him were really unacceptable and inappropriate. And those dollars were used to spread that message. And that creates genuine concern for his safety, a rise in threats, and is really unpleasant, and it's not what our democracy should be about. You know, I think all of us agree that there's differences in opinion and you should be speaking on the issues, but this kind of thing was just really disheartening. And so we did see that it caused fear, and frankly, it caused fear within the Muslim community as well, which Zohran addressed in his speech on Islamophobia, where they, you know, people felt like, oh, are we welcome? Are we welcome participants in our democracy? And so that was the ugly and tough part. But I do think that on Election Day, seeing that the movement we built was able to overcome that did give people a lot of hope and a lot of heart. But it's not easy, and you know, it's a shame that kind of big money can still play such a big part in our democracy.
What are you planning to do next? Do you plan to join the administration? Are you going to stay put here in New York? Or are you going to? Your phone will be ringing by other people who want to run for office. I'm sure you know.
You know, I got to take a nap. I've got to go to bed.
Right.
No, I'm 100% focused on helping Zohran in any way I can. And, you know, the work of the transition has begun. I'm thrilled and excited by the names that were announced today of his, you know, co-chairs and ED. I think incredibly talented women with deep experience, and I'm just eager to help them any way that I can. And frankly, we're eager to help any candidate who can run and inspire people like this, because that is what democracy is about. And so I think that's absolutely, you know, what we should be doing.
When people talk about where the Democratic Party is heading nationally and where it should go, when I've been asked this, for, you know, I do some commentary, and what I've said is that the technique could actually go anywhere. It's not just a New York thing. It's not even necessarily even just a progressive thing. Yeah. If you go and you ask people what they care about, you create policies that will respond to what they've told you, and you have the discipline to stick to that and to build a good volunteer base that carries the message forward, you could probably win a race in any corner of the country.
You could. I think there are some pieces that it does take a lot of time to replicate. I do think the movement building work that was done by New York City DSA, the Working Families Party, so many organizations, like this is a well-organized city, and volunteer leaders have been built up through the years. And so it's not as easy as great message, great moment, charismatic person, oh, everybody's motivated, right? That work does take time to build up over years. And so I do want to call that out, because a lot of losses went into that win. But you're right that I think there's this key piece of, you know, the Democratic Party just being able to speak to people's very real concerns and then sticking to it, and being able to set the narrative in the way that he did, right? There were a lot of distractors of people trying to make this race about something else, and he saw that the affordability crisis was top of mind for folks, and challenged everyone else in the race to speak to that, right? And no one spoke to it as well as he did. And then I also think there needs to be a willingness to, you know, people are unhappy and people are angry and they feel like the system has screwed them over, and a willingness to really call that out in an honest and authentic way, and really say we should not be afraid to tax the rich. We should not be afraid to kind of redistribute some of that wealth so that people can live a life of dignity. And I just think that message spoke to folks. So.
Okay. Well, we'll let you get some rest. Thanks so much for giving us a peek behind the curtain. And best of luck with everything.
Thank you so much.
Okay, let's take a short break now. When we come back, Zohran Mamdani has made big transportation promises, including fast and free buses. We'll tell you why the city's top transportation officials think that Mamdani's proposals might work or might have some trouble. Stay with us.
The next downtown local 6 train to Brooklyn Bridge City Hall will arrive in 2 minutes.
After 30 years of forecasting for New York, I've learned it takes a dedicated team to cover all the weather our city has to offer.
I'm so honored to be a meteorologist here at New York One because as a Brooklyn kid, this is the station that I grew up watching. Morning, noon, or night, our team is here to bring you accurate forecasts you can count on, from severe weather updates to our weather on the ones. Watch the New York One weather experts on your TV and on the go with the Spectrum News app.
Your entertainment the way you want it. With Spectrum TV, all these streaming apps are included at no extra cost. So you can watch anything. Movies, series, sports, reality, news.
Here's a look at today's top stories.
Exclusive originals.
We await your orders.
And even more of your favorites with live TV. Stream across your devices and enjoy anywhere.
See you later.
Get it all with Spectrum TV.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. 2 milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.
My father was a New York City firefighter. My mission, like his, is to serve New Yorkers in a city that doesn't stop when the sun goes down. Being with New York One since the beginning, I'm now honored to join you even earlier each weeknight. Starting at 8 with New York Tonight, we'll explore the latest news developments, followed by New York One at 10 to wrap up your day. So join me each weeknight starting at 8 right here on New York One.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. Transit advocates believe that Zohran Mamdani will be very different from Mayor Adams when it comes to transportation. Now they're counting on Mamdani for fast and free buses and more bus lanes and more protected bike lanes, as well as fighting for taxi and Uber and Lyft drivers. New York One Transit reporter Samantha Liebman has reaction from transit leaders in this report.
Zohran Mamdani's main transportation proposal?
Make buses fast and free.
While MTA Chair and CEO Janno Lieber has expressed skepticism, in a statement he said he looks forward to working with the mayor-elect, but with this win, transit advocates believe it will happen.
We're going to see, major negotiations with the MTA, as well as expansion of the bus priority network all across the city, starting with the projects that have been stalled, like the one on Fordham Road.
Which was supposed to get a busway to increase bus speeds. But the free part may be a challenge. Even if there's funding, the MTA sells bonds backed by fares.
The investors would almost certainly sue and say, well, wait a minute, you pledged us to future bus revenues. You can't take away those revenues. And by the way, the MTA bond documents also say we promise that we will increase fares in the future sufficient to keep up our maintenance and pay this debt.
Riders in Flatbush who say buses here are unreliable hope Mamdani will prevail, but if they could only get fast or free.
For me, the bus be fast.
Both free and fast. But right now I'm late for work.
Fast, because if it's coming free, a lot of people's gonna be traveling and then you wouldn't get to work on time. So if it's faster, I will pay.
Mamdani can immediately create bus lanes and must create 30 miles a year under the city's streets plan, plus 50 miles of protected bike lane. The current mayor has fallen way short every year, and some not only blame politics, but also a hiring freeze at the Department of Transportation.
Mayor-elect Mamdani has committed to fully staffing DOT to give them the leeway to pursue the streets that New Yorkers really deserve.
Mamdani didn't talk about that during his victory speech Tuesday, but he did mention making life better for taxi drivers.
It's about people like Richard, the taxi driver I went on a 15-day hunger strike with outside of City Hall, who still has to drive his cab 7 days a week. My brother, we are in City Hall now.
He was referring to Richard Chow, whose brother committed suicide when the value of coveted taxi medallions plummeted amid COVID and the surge of Uber and Lyft. Mamdani helped drivers secure debt relief, but Ravi Desai of the New York Taxi Workers Alliance believes Mamdani can fight the rideshare companies.
We're looking for a time where drivers can finally have a steady, livable income and job security, retirement on this job, benefits on this job, real protections against the existential threat of autonomous vehicles and AI.
Now, meanwhile, even if there's money found for fast and free buses, it still may be a challenge. The president and USDOT have halted work on one busway, and they have threatened other transportation funding. In Flatbush, Samantha Liebman, New York 1.
It is time for a break now. When we come back, we'll take a closer look at the only city council district that flipped from Republican to Democratic on election night. City Council member-elect Shirley Aldabal will join us from Puerto Rico to talk about her victory in the Bronx. Stay with us.
Here's the deal. People need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 on Spectrum News New York 1. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
My name is Gail, and we are in my showroom for Florist Fire Design House. Getting Spectrum set up for my business was extremely smooth. They had it set up within an hour, and I was online and ready to go and run my business. Spectrum helps me stay online. You know, I have to be able to be online at 5 a.m. when the market's open. Without Spectrum, it wouldn't be possible.
Get your business free fiber-powered internet forever. Call to find out how.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day. With in-depth coverage of the day's developing news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following this morning.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Some morning sunshine possible, clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One. Weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum customers.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. One city council race that we were watching on election night was in the 13th district up in the Bronx, where that borough's only Republican member of the city council, Christy Marmorato, lost to a newcomer and longtime labor organizer named Shirley Aldabal. Marmorato made headlines 2 years ago when she became the first Bronx Republican elected to the city council in decades. But this time around, the seat went back to Democratic by a margin of almost 2,000 votes. City Council member-elect Shirley Aldabal joins us now from the annual political conference Somos El Futuro in San Juan. Good evening, Shirley, and congratulations.
Thank you so much, Errol.
So tell us about what this victory symbolizes and how much the Mamdani effect influenced the turnout in your district?
Well, I think that, you know, the mayor's race generally did have an effect on the district, but, you know, the majority of voters in the district are suffering from, you know, the affordability crisis and, you know, a lot of the issues that weren't being addressed by the incumbent city council member, and, you know, just dissatisfaction in general with what the Republicans are doing in Washington, D.C. and how it's impacting folks in the Bronx and in the 13th district.
Yeah, that's an interesting effect that we've heard about elsewhere, that the Republican Party operating out of Washington as far as the shutdown and some other national policies were having local effects. Did that bring out more Democrats than you might have expected?
Yeah, it brought out a lot of Democrats, but, you know, I'm really proud of the campaign that we ran. We talked to voters all over the district. We talked to voters in parts of the district where they felt neglected and marginalized, and we reached out to so many people, knocked on thousands and thousands of doors, talked to people in the street, you know, at their schools, in the, you know, supermarkets, you know, wherever we found voters where they were, and had conversations with them. And most of them, you know, said the same thing. You know, we want a more livable, more affordable city. We don't think that the Republicans are delivering for us, and we want to change.
Okay. Now, it was reported that Mamdani said that if Mamdani were to win, she would actually support President Trump deploying federal troops to the city. Is there ever a situation in which you would support something like that?
I would never support anything like that. That's a ridiculous notion. It's absurd for her to say that, and, you know, quite frankly, you know, she had said many times in the past that she wanted to bring ICE into the Bronx, that she was going to work with Homeland Security, with Tom Homan, to bring ICE agents into the Bronx to get rid of, you know, immigrants or illegals, as she referred to people. And, you know, I had a different message. It's like we have to, you know, preserve our sanctuary city legislation. We have to protect our immigrant communities. You know, immigrants are, you know, the backbone of New York City. They have built New York City, and, you know, they contribute to our economy and to our communities and to our culture. And, you know, New York is not the place for Trump to be sending troops or ICE agents to separate families and detain people.
One of the things that we've talked about before that will undoubtedly be an issue for you after you're sworn in is that your district seems to be attracting a lot of development. There was the Bruckner rezoning just a couple of years ago. There was the attempt to get a casino, the Bally's Casino proposal for Ferry Point. There will probably be other proposals. How do you plan to handle that?
Look, I plan to handle it the way I've handled everything, you know, in my career. You know, I want to make sure that we're not just building buildings, but that we're really building communities, that our district is a place that is affordable for seniors, for working people. You know, we have to deal with the homeless situation. We have to move people out of shelters, you know, into housing. We have to give people the support that they need to be able to live and thrive in our district. And that's what the approach that I'm going to take for every development. We need development that's going to create good jobs. We need development that's going to be responsible and, you know, give back to the community where they are developing.
Not that long ago, you were described as having retired from SEIU Local 32BJ, where you had a long and illustrious career. It sounds like this new one is going to take as much effort, if not more, than what you've spent the last few decades working on.
Yes, I am ready to roll up my sleeves. I wasn't ready to retire, so I really retired from Local 32BJ to focus on this race, to be able to, focus on, leading in this district and delivering for the people of District 13 and the Bronx and New York City.
One of your first votes will be arguably your most important one, which is who you will support for Speaker of the City Council. I understand that the contest is kind of already hot and heavy, and that people are making requests and making deals down there in San Juan. Do you have a candidate that you're supporting for Speaker?
I have spent all these months focusing on my election and my race. So quite frankly, I have not committed to any one candidate for Speaker.
Okay. What do you make of the Mamdani phenomenon? We're all still sort of trying to sort through the numbers, look at which communities supported him and why. What is your take?
I think, it's interesting, but there was a surge of young voters, which I thought was, phenomenal. The number of young voters that came out throughout New York City and even in District 13 had a huge impact on Mamdani's race. He won in parts of the district, in District 13. That Eric Adams did not do well in the last race. So yeah, I think I still looking at how this all is going to shake out, but I think that his message of there was a message of hope, a message of optimism, a message of opportunity that people were able to get behind despite all the the negative rhetoric. I think people really felt very strongly that we need a new approach.
Okay, we're going to leave it there for now. We'll let you get back to the workshops and other festivities that are going on down there. Thanks so much for spending some time with us, and congratulations again.
Thank you again. Thank you, Errol.
All right, that is going to do it for tonight's show. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great evening. We'll see you next time inside City Hall.
And that's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning.
You're done with the sports section.
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s, but showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
Exclusively on Spectrum.
My name is Gail, and we are in my showroom for Florist Fire Design House. We are a full production wedding and event company that focuses on florals. Getting Spectrum set up for my business was extremely smooth. They were here the same day, had it set up within an hour, and I was online and ready to go and run my business. I have to be able to be online at 5 a.m. when the market's open. And if I'm contacting a merchant via email or placing an order online, without Spectrum, it wouldn't be possible. Spectrum is reliable, they're committed, they're fast, and they really take care of me as a business owner. Last year, when the really bad hurricane came through, our internet stayed the entire time. One of the businesses down the street, she was like, wait a minute, how are you still online? And I was like, Spectrum, baby. You gotta get Spectrum.
Get free fiber-powered internet forever when you add 4 mobile lines. Learn more at spectrum.com/free for life.